Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I wanted to come on here, do another video talking a bit more about Satan's little season. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the transitional period. I did do another video about this before, how I believe that the transitional period is something that like we won't exactly know how it went down, and I still think that, these are just kind of theories on what we think. But I did come up with a theory on how this went down. I did want to talk a little bit about this. Now, this is just my theory, and it's based on all the things we know already about like Satan's little season and the research that we did and things like that. I kind of put everything together and came up with a theory on how this may have went down. So I'm interested to see what you guys think about it. So again, yeah, this is just a theory. We don't really know for sure, but I think this makes a lot of sense. Like when we take everything that we know already and we take like all our research, put it all together. I think that this makes a lot of sense. So let's get into it here. So starting with the Millennial Kingdom, obviously, that's when it began, 76 AD. And then so there was like the kingdom. Now keep in mind, now this Jesus and his saints started to reign. But the thing is, there were still people, there were still mortals, I believe, on the earth. And I think at this point it was just a select few, like a few group of people who still hated Jesus, right? Like a select few group of people who still wanted to come against him, wanted to rebel against him, and things like that. I still think that so once the Millennial Kingdom began, there were still these mortals, like a few group of people who wanted to conspire against Jesus, basically. So now, what I think went down here during the Millennial Kingdom, these groups of people were operating in the shadows. So they were, they were trying to I think that they were creating false religions, things like that, the religions that we know today. So it makes a lot of sense that they were like creating this, trying to spread it around, like kind of, start to deceive people in that way during the Millennial Kingdom. Um, so so while this was happening, so let's say now it's close to the end of the little season, or sorry, it's close to the end of the Millennial Kingdom. So they ended up deceiving like a lot of people. So I think at this point, like just given all of this, like I think that they ended up deceiving like a majority of people. It ended up happening that way, right? So I don't know for sure exactly. We really won't know everything, but like it seems like they were spreading these lies around, things like that, and trying to deceive people. So now at the end of the Millennial Kingdom, so now remember, actually, before I get to that, so not everyone was deceived. I think that there was a select few group of mortals who still, who still believed in Jesus. They still supported him, the Millennial Kingdom, and all of that. And so this small group of people at the end of the Millennial Kingdom, I think, right before the mud flood, I think like they got raptured, like or something, right? Like they got glorified bodies. They joined the rest of the saints because at the end of the Millennial Kingdom, that's when I think that Jesus and the glorified saints hid themselves, right? So at the end of the Millennial Kingdom, started the little season right before the mud flood. The Jesus and his saints hid themselves, so they were no longer on Earth because Satan was unleashed, right? So now, to this day, they're still up in the sky in New Jerusalem. And so when we take this into account, that's why I believe that there's like a small group of people who still were for Jesus, and this small group of people, like I mentioned in my other video, remember with the floods and stuff like that, how the remnant is saved. I think these small group of people got raptured right before the mud flood happened, right? So right before the mud flood happened, right before the wrath, just like those other patterns I talked about, like we know with the Great Tribulation, right before God's wrath, they got caught up, they got raptured, and how I believe that those of us who are still here at the end of the little season will be raptured. Those believers will be raptured before God rains fire down on the earth. So I think, and I know a lot of people, I'm saying rapture, that's the best way to describe it. I know people don't like that word because the futurists, there's a deception within futurism. I understand, I completely get that. But it is like catching away, getting glorified bodies and things like that, that's biblical, right? Like we see that in First Thessalonians. So, but anyways, point of the matter is that's how I kind of see it going down, like how I saw it, how I see that it went down, given all the patterns that I talked about, like right before the wrath, there's a rapture, and just like now in the future, before the wrath of God, before God rains fire down on the earth, there'll also be a rapture for believers. So that's the way that I see it. So now getting back to this here, so there's those group of people, so those small group of people who did that. Now there's the rest of the people. So there, the mud flood occurred, and yeah, probably a lot of people got killed and stuff. I don't know those details, but point of the matter is that now the people who remain are the rebellious people, but here's my theory. Here's a twist. So there's not just the rebellious people, but I think that there were like people who weren't neither for Jesus nor against him. So there's these rebellious people. Obviously, they were always against him. They were conspiring against him. And then now there was like neutral people, like I'll call them neutrals, I guess, right? Like neutral mortal people who were like they wanted to do their own thing, I think, right? Like they were neither like against Jesus nor for Jesus. Jesus didn't take them, but they went and hid somewhere. They did their own thing. I'm thinking like kind of like native, like the native tribes, stuff like that. Around North America and things like that. I think like that was what they were doing. Like they just they're neither for nor against, right? And so I think that these rebels, like these people who wanted to create their own kingdom, so once the mud flood happened, when Satan was released, Satan gave them power, right? Gave them power to rule and reign, to create their own kingdom. I think he gave them like more, actually gave them more spiritual powers and things like that. So I think that happened. And then they took these neutral people, like these people were neither for nor against him, who are just kind of still hiding around doing their own thing. They took them to the mental institutions to brainwash them, to do witchcraft on them, all sorts of stuff. And then they took the children to orphan camps. And I think that makes sense when we connect all the dots together with the history that we have. So let me know what you guys think about that. I think that makes a lot of sense. So basically now here we are. We're just the descendants of all those people who... So I think kind of it created sort of like it's kind of a two-class system, like basically like the people on the top, like the what we talk about with conspiracy theories and things like that, like Illuminati, stuff like that. I think like those people are the descendants of the rebels, and then now just us regular folks are the descendants of these people who are neither for nor against Jesus at that time, who got witchcraft, who got sent to mental institutions. Witchcraft was done against them, all that stuff, right? So that makes a lot of sense when we look at it that way, I think. And now here we are now. So let me know what you guys think. I think that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I kind of see that's kind of how it went down. Just looking if there's anything I missed here. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I think that's it. All right, let me know what you guys think. All right, God bless.